Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Please let me know if my volume is too loud because I just took one look at that and I'm peaking already. So just the enthusiasm, just the excitement because we have a lot of fun work to do today. So what you just heard, if you were here for the preview, is a track that a friend of mine, David Liu, recorded. Hopefully he'll be in chat and he can post all of his links. Otherwise, I'll try and remember to do that. He recorded that on his modular synth, which you can see on the screen right now, because I figured there's a good chance that you may not have seen one of these before or seen what it can do. Basically, it's all the raw electronics for what any keyboard or basically any electronic instrument is doing these days. It's synthesizing the sound from kind of the fundamentals of waveforms and shaping and filters and all that kind of stuff. Very complicated. This is his actual setup. He's performing this track. I'll play a little bit of it for you. Hopefully you'll hear it. So as you can see, it's a lot of very kind of repetitive sounds just being played, and he can set all those up with frequencies and repeating and tempo and everything. And then various filters to move in and adjust as you go through. So really cool way of generating music. Comes up with what you just heard, which is the track that he's called Intruder that we're going to be mixing today. So I have a range of tracks here. Let's quickly run through what I've got. The first one you can see is my stream vocals, which I thought I hid. The first one you can see is called the plates, I guess. I don't know exactly what that means, but it's called plates. The second track is blades, third is drums, and we have a few orchestra tracks. You'll see that I have kind of unlabeled and then dry versions of these. I asked him to bounce out kind of the raw track and then the automated effects. So we'll listen to each of them in a bit so you can hear the difference. The one that we listened to on the way in was the live reference. So basically, these dry tracks were set up and David recorded them, played them back out through the whole synth and manually did all the filters. So these tracks actually have the performance on it, and these ones have some performance in them, but it's not kind of the full performance. It's not how he intended the sound to be. So I have copies of them, and I am going to use them, I think. We'll see. But the primary ones are these other tracks. Now, the live reference is the whole mix of everything as he was recording it. So that's what we just listened to. That's got all of the performance in it. I don't know how well he balanced it for that, but that's how it came out. Then I also got him to do a rough mix. So this rough mix, this mix reference, is what, at least as far as I'm going to use, is what he intended the sound to sound like. This also includes the orchestra parts, which we didn't hear in that live reference. So if I switch between this live reference and the mix reference, you'll hear the difference between kind of a completely unbalanced mix and then a somewhat, deliberately balanced with a few added things put into it. This is live. This was just the individual parts. And then with a bit more effort put in, I think I might have trimmed that up. At the same level, yeah. And you can hear the orchestra come in there as well. If I run through each individual track, then you'll hear the differences here as well. So these palettes, is it palettes or plates? I've spelled it differently. It is, I don't have the page up. Okay, hang on, it's plates. Plates, not pallets. So this track is this one. It's this kind of in and out. I really don't have the words to describe these. I guess it's plates because that's what the track's called. But if I go to the dry one, this is just continuous. It's just going throughout. And so all of the work that you could see him doing with his hands over the controls in that video has not been done on this track. This is just the kind of bass part of it. Whereas this is the one that has effects on it, it's got some reverb in it, it's got some low pass filters, it's probably got some high pass filters as well, I think. And we'll hear similar things on blades. And the original dry one, which is considerably louder. And the drums. which you can hear there's a cool delay on that's adding a lot more pulsing to it. But the dry drums sound totally different. Totally different. And then we've got some orchestra parts. So, going to start, what we've got there. David's just shown up in chat. Welcome. What is it? Plates and Blades, the names of the voice. Okay. So yeah, you can look those up. They are, I guess, just an instrument name that someone made up. There you go. So let's have a look. First thing I'm going to do is actually bring these all up to a louder volume level because they're all really quiet right now. And I like to work with tracks closer to being normalized volumes. You can see they're very consistent level throughout, so there isn't really a loudest section to pick, but I'll jump up to here because it looks fairly full. And I'm just going to go through each track on its own and gain it up until it's fairly loud, and then maybe add a bit of compression just because I know that's going to be my next step. Yeah, okay. That's not very interesting. Part there, I'm guessing it gets louder. Oh, let's do that one. And I'll come back and do the orchestras later. So all of these are the synth. I'm going to send all of these, well, actually, I'm going to send bits and pieces. So I'll start by sending the already performed tracks into Mixbus 1. So I've got one place where they're going to be coming out, and that should give me something to listen to while I have nothing soloed. That's just everything all in. And if I compare that to the mix reference, doesn't have the strings, but all the pieces are definitely there and fairly present. So let's just look at how they're going to blend with each other, because that's kind of the important part here. Is we've got 3 different tracks that have got to sit together and blend well together. I'm treating this as more of an ambient track than a song. There isn't so much a leading part. The blades definitely have the most interesting moving part throughout it, but it's an ambient track. Like nothing is the lead line as such. So it's all going to sit together in kind of a nice, warm, fuzzy spot that I'm also going to try and spread. So one of my things with mixes is definitely space, and so I'm going to try and give it a big space around the listener. You may not notice that if you don't have headphones on. You may not notice it if you don't have half-decent headphones on, but that's what I'm going to be trying to do. So let's start with the drums and see if I can get... In fact, let me, for reference, I'm going to bring up a frequency analyzer so we can see what's going on, and check out where the drums are at. So immediately the thing that sticks out to me is there's not a lot of real low end to that. And unfortunately I'm not getting it from the mixed drums track, which probably means there was a filter bringing it out. So I'll bring in the dry straight away and see if I can get a nicer kind of fat low-end punch out of it that I can then blend in with the rest. There it is. Where's that bit? There we go. immediately we've got a bit more kind of punch to it. These drums are sounding a little bit dry, so I'll just brighten them up a touch. And the mid-range is definitely going to be filled up with other instruments, so that's going to come down just a bit, I think probably around 800, but let's have a listen. So that's cleaned up the mid-range on that. That's going to leave some space for, let's go to the plates. And rather than soloing, I'm going to mute because that will go. In fact, I should be able to switch now to solo in place. You still hear me? Good. This is what I was having real trouble getting the extra mic coming through last week. So hopefully now. Yeah, so now this frequency analysis is only going to show what's soloed, which is nice to have for this stage. The other thing I noticed straight away is it's very central. Really keen to have a bit more spread on this one because it is more kind of more continuous, more reliable throughout the track. So let's start playing with ways of doing that. The doubler is one of my preferred plugins for that kind of stereo spread. I don't think there's any stereo width in the signal at all. So there's other plugins for widening a track that's already stereo. This one, it's a stereo recording, but I'm pretty sure it's just flat in the center. So let's see what this does for us. The other option I've got is to take the dry track and see if there's bits from there that I can put stereo and leave the mixed one in the center, which might also give a similar effect. So I'll turn that one off for now. And let's bring in the center track, the dry track as well, and see what we've got. So you can hear that one's a lot brighter. So I'm just going to pull that high end down a little bit and that low end come up. And if I drop this same doubler in and take it out of the center, so we're only going to get left and right out of this. A little bit crackly, a little bit hissy. I did turn things up, so I've got a bit of control over that, but I don't actually mind it that much. That's giving me a nice stereo spread, filling up a lot of space there. Now that has now meant that there's aspects of the performance that I've got to take into account, because that track, if I go right back to the start, that one starts in. That's in from the start, while the other one is fading in. So I'm going to have to match some things just in the edit. And I can actually I can match this really approximately as well because it is just an effect. So I've taken the non-effect track and made it the effect track. I might need to add in a high frequency wipe on that as well. Let's do that with, have I got any cool filters? What have I got that's got a cool filter in it? I think I'm just going to use an F6. So this is going to let me bring down the high end completely. So for the starting point, it's going to be very kind of background, not like that. And then we can bring it in. Bring it in with the rest of the track. So we're going to bring in the volume, and I'll bring up my F6, and I want mix. We'll start from 100% mix and take that. Spend some time getting to 0. So you can see that's giving me some stuff up at the high range that would otherwise be completely gone at that point. So I'll have to check this out. Now I've got the automation there. I can do that anywhere else in the track as well. So I can fade that back out and back in if there's areas where it starts getting too bright. Let's have a listen to the blades, because this is an interesting part. So you can see what the dry version does to the frequency analysis. That goes way crazy. That's all over the place. There's a lot of performance in this one, so I'm going to rely very heavily on this. There's probably a way that I can automatically follow it with the other one, but I don't think I'm actually going to be able to use the dry signal on this. So we may just have to see what I can do with the blades to make it sit well with everything else. So here it is with everything else. So I'm already feeling that I want the drums to be louder. I don't know if the intention was for them to be the driving part, but they clearly are. So let's bring these other guys down just a touch. And I have a feeling I'm going to want to bring that whole group down as well. So should all be a little bit quieter now. bit more out of these drums. Let's put low air on it. So low air is going to give me more sub, which generally you don't need for electronic instruments because they come with as much sub as you can possibly get. It's real good for real instruments. And you can hear that that's turning it into very, very, very low end. So chances are you won't hear that unless you've got headphones, good headphones, or a subwoofer in your room. But that's really what I want out of that, because combined with everything, that's going to give the whole thing some really nice punch. Frequency modulation with blades. Yeah. I mean, you've done well. You've done well. It's an interesting part that's come out, intentional or otherwise. Okay, so that's the first round of those parts. One thing that I'm already feeling is I've turned up the high end on a lot of the pieces to try and get a bit more brightness, and I'm not actually liking too much how it's come out, so I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try two things different, actually. So I'm going to turn all the high EQs down a bit, so that'll dry things out. And I'm going to add in a second Mixbus for the same instruments, same levels. So now I'll get it twice, and we'll see it over here that Mixbus 1 and 2 are now doing. Now identical. I don't have the bus compressor on Mixbus 2. But I will, because I'm also going to turn up this tape saturation to max, and then probably turn it down again, but it's going to start at max. And we'll start with just a touch of compression on it. Back the ratio well off. And what I'm hoping this is going to do is give some distortion. You can hear a lot of distortion on that. That's intentional. It's deliberate. It might be a little bit too much. Because once I have the two tracks, I can blend them together and use this to add some more high frequencies to the instruments rather than having to pull them out of the individual source tracks. So you can hear it's just a little bit brighter, a little bit more crunchy, but because it's tape saturation, it's going to be in time with the music and it's going to be relative to the music rather than like most distortion plugins will put it everywhere, or they will actively try and compress or squish or overdrive the sound so you end up with it everywhere. That's really not the effect that I want here. So big chunk of tape saturation mixed in, down a little bit. It's going to give me some of that. The other one I'm going to do is put on, do I have it in favorites now? I do. Fresh Air, which is one of my new favorite plugins. It was a freebie from Slate. This plugin lets me add high frequencies to a track. So I'll turn off the tape saturation one for now so we can hear what this one does. But this is just going to brighten things up with a decent amount of control. It's quite nice. And I'll go back to the mix reference, make sure I'm not going too far off base, but so far, so good. That's giving me a lot of what I want to hear from this. It just feels like more depth. I still think there's more I can do with the drums. And I think what I want to do with the drums is it delay or is it reverb? Let me just name these so I remember what they are. I think I want to send the drums through some let's just call it drum effects and see what makes sense. So I'll put both drum tracks in. Actually, no, I'll just put the dry in. I'll put the dry in because the performance track already has effects on it. So I'm just going to start with the dry, which is just going to give me that. And see what I can do with it. Because it's on its own mix bus, I can blend it in separately at any amount. I kind of wonder if a half beat delay makes sense here. Let's give that a go. I'm just going to delay it by half a beat or so, which will be, let's just, about that. And I'll turn off the main one. And I actually just want it kind of there. That's just going to give me a bit more pulse from the drums. But I'm not done because I really want an implied kind of pulse, not a strong, obvious one. So that's a really obvious boom, boom. That's not the sound that I want from it. I can EQ it, but I think a reverb is what I want. So what reverb do I have? Convology. I haven't used Convology XT in a while. Let's play with some plates. That's only giving me half a signal. That's only giving me half a signal. Huh. Have I run into some kind of routing issue? Strange. Okay, well, easy answer. We'll put it before the super tap. And we'll edit the pin connections. And can I remove you and do that? Didn't actually make a difference. That's so strange. What is going on there? Oh, wait, let me also, can I not? Okay, guess we're not using that plugin. Let's fix that one up. Different reverb. Let's try an Reverb stereo. The Reverb has a lot of control over the sounds. That's better. Okay. Oh, that one could be interesting. Do I have any better reverse plates? Nonlinear. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. So this is a reverse reverb, and it's set as an insert. So you can see the pre-delay is minus 160. That's going to delay absolutely everything else by that amount, so that this actually reverberates into the sound. And because it's delayed already, this I could actually just adjust the delays to save on some latency, but it's not going to matter too much. It's not actually getting into a sound. So I'll turn the wet dry down a bit so it has something to hit at the end. And we get that kind of cool whoop sound. And we're going to get that every time. And see if that works. I don't know, we'll find out. This is all experimentation. We'll see what works. We'll see what gives it motion, what gives it depth and space. And if it doesn't, then we'll just take it out. Already, it feels too slow. So let's bring these up a bit and see if that can time it a little bit better. In fact, I'll just take this pre-delay out entirely because that's going to... Negative delays, they do work. The DAWs can figure it out, but it's probably not worth confusing it if I don't have to. So this is almost giving a sucking effect to the drums. It's because the reverb kicks in as the tail of the drum hit is still fading, you get a boom, 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 which is almost like a heart-beating effect. I really like that. As I said, David's in chat, so if he hates it, then he's going to tell me. But I'm also the moderator here, so if he hates it, then I can just ban him, and it's all good. I'll probably come back and turn that down, honestly. Right now, it feels good, but I suspect it's going to be too dominant later on. And so I'll eventually just turn that down. But for now, that's giving me a groove that fits in with, I think, the whole thing to some extent. Let's see. Feel like, and I think it's these plates, the dry ones, are a little bit too... Not enough motion in them. Not enough motion. So, let's add some more motion. Brow motion actually has... I should probably just automate the filter on this guy, I think, because this has got some filters on it. So, I've pulled this out a few times on the last few tracks because it's fun. This is a timed kind of motion plugin. So it's going to take the left and right. I assume left goes into panner 1, right goes into panner 2. And it's just going to make them move when we play. So we'll get... some kind of motion all over the place. I do have a bit of a sense of what I want. And I kind of want them to feel like it's swapping sides on each hit. So I think to do that, let's turn off, that was not it. Let's turn off panner 2 for now and just work on panner 1, because then I can come and reverse it. This I want, I don't know what tempo this was recorded at. Hey David, do you know what your BPM was when you recorded this? Is it 120? It feels pretty close to 120. While he's coming back with that. Yep, 120. And you know, that's actually exactly the motion that I want. I've got a few other options, so I can make it a sine wave and give it a bit more bounce as it gets towards each end. But that's going to give me that left to right that I want there. Panner 2, let's do something different. We can trigger this off the input. And so every time the input hits a certain level, I can make this bounce around in a certain way. So we'll mute 1 and listen to 2. And you can see as it gets louder, the position moves from the center towards the right. And as it gets quieter, it goes towards the left. That's going to be based on the sensitivity. It's not actually where I want that. Let's bring it in a little bit. I don't want this quite as drastic. I should be able to not pre-delay. Yeah, let's give it a... So now there's just a whole lot more motion going on. And I can bring it back a little bit just in the final mix so it doesn't feel as kind of motion sickness inducing. And we've gone from kind of just that pulsing in either ear to pulsing and motion between either ear. It's just going to keep things moving around a bit more. Actually, I wonder if I should do that with the drum effects as well. That might be going too far. That's probably going too far. Let's not do that. What else can I do? A second send of the blades doing that might be interesting though, because that has got some triggered... That has some nice potential for triggering. Let's do another one of these on the blades, because these guys... Nice thing is everything's basically in time, so I can have a timed one. That is going to kind of give that cool effect without having to worry too much about triggering or, you know, going through and kind of setting all of the bars and beats to make it work. Let's give this some tape saturation as well, just for a bit more bite. Though I did pull the high-end EQ down, so that didn't help. In fact, let's make this high frequencies and not low. So now we got cool thumping bass, things drifting around, phasing in and out. Feels like a lot going on, but we've still got some orchestra tracks. And if we have a listen to the mix reference, then you'll hear just how much everything suddenly changes when you throw the orchestra in with it. So I'll just listen to it. No, it's not patched anyway yet. That's why you can't hear it. Where are you, orchestra? I feel like in some ways the orchestra tracks are almost the feature part. This not so much this first one, but this one in pink, the Orchestra 2 track, is very much the most interesting thing going on. If only because by the time we get to that point, we've heard basically everything that the other parts are doing. I didn't gain these up yet, so let's go through and make sure that they're all at a suitably loud volume, which looks like probably this bit here for Orchestra 1. And in case you're wondering, I'm actually doing this by meter, so you can hear it. I can definitely hear it, but I'm watching this meter. I want the green to be coming all the way up to the top. But not exceeding it. I just had a crazy idea that I'm going to come back to if I have time. If I forget, someone just tell me Ovox, okay? I'll try and come back to that later on, because I think that could be really fun on some of these orchestra parts. Probably that one. I have already decided that rather than turning up the high frequencies on the orchestra, where did I send those? Mixbus 3. Orchestra. I'm going to use fresh air again on the Mixbus. So let's put that on there and turn it up so I don't over adjust. And Orchestra 3. And the other thing I'm going to do on the orchestra is put low air on it, which I already did on the drums to get that thumping bass. And if I tune it well, I'll be able to use it. Let's put it before fresh air. If I tune it well, then I'll be able to use it on the orchestra to give it a lot more thickness, hopefully without it being overpowering low end, is the goal and or challenge. That's just given that a little bit of pump to the bass line. Let's check the others. Hasn't really touched that part at all. Yeah, so you can hear the difference to that. That's really thickened out the low end. That's going to sound good. Going to sound good. Okay, let's see how these parts fit in with everything else right now. Let's start from the beginning. So now we've got the orchestra, at least that part of the orchestra, swiveling around us as well. Let's check out this part. I almost feel like that part 3 has just always been like kind of higher sitting on top pieces. So I think I'm going to overemphasize the high end and cut out a lot of the low end on this guy. Because that's going to just make that part cut through a little bit more than the other two. And we'll check this out. I actually really like that one just being centered, staying still. And of course what this does mean is I need to add some reverb onto these guys at different amounts. So let's find a nice space for them. Let's see if the convology is going to work on this track instead, or if it's only going to give me one channel. Have both channels. It helps if I send something into it. Maybe it's just that preset. Okay, looks like convology and Mixbus do not play well together, and that's probably what's going on there. IRL. IRL is a good plugin if it has all of its presets in, which it does not. So not such a good plugin. I need to figure out where all those have gone. Okay, Old Faithful, Transatlantic Plate. My go-to reverb for practically everything. You can hear that's a lot of reverb. It's hanging around for a long time. I've got quite a lot of compression on it, so it's really going to sit at about the same level for its entire life, for the full 6 or so seconds that it's going to run for. It's really just to fill up space. The Orchestra itself already has kind of a roomish reverb on it, so I'm not trying to reproduce that. I'm trying to fill up more space in the track around it. So it doesn't just come in and kind of play the notes and then leave. It's going to leave a lasting impression on it. May all be getting a bit loud. I haven't been keeping an eye on my limiter over the side, but I should probably just turn everything down at this point. Yeah. Oh, I can't just type in that. Okay. Taking 2 dB off everything. Thereabouts. I'll tweak it again later, I'm sure. Just got the drum effects. Hey there, Bleem. Thanks for joining. Yeah, glad you're interested. I mean, I love watching people do this stuff as well on Twitch. So glad you can join. Feel free to shout out if you have any questions, anything you'd like me to go deeper into. I've already spent about an hour on this, so there's quite a few things going in. The performer as well is in chat as well. So if you want to ask anything about the modular synths involved, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to tell you about that. And David, feel free to post your links. Spam links, get people to go check out your stuff. I can do it, but you're here, and I give you permission. I won't ban you, like that previous guy. Okay, that's all of the parts. That is all of the parts. So I guess I can go back and look at that fun stuff now. Is that I mean the whole thing is 7 minutes long, so let's jump around and check out a few parts, and I'll just check against the mix reference. So that's for anyone who's come in, the mix reference is what Dave gave me with the rest of the recordings to basically say, hey, this is how I'm hearing it in my head, but you do your thing. So I've done a lot of my thing, but I want to check it and make sure that it matches his vision of what the track is meant to be, of course. So let's pick a few spots, and I'll bounce between, not the live reference, I don't want that one anymore. Let's just get rid of that. Which one of these tracks wasn't I using? I'm not using the dry blades. Let's get rid of that. Yes, let's bounce through and listen. Whenever I hit solo and mix reference, then we'll be listening to his. Already, I don't actually like that bounce back on the drums at the start. So let's automate that. Where was that one going to? That was Mixbus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Mixbus and 5 level. But where are we? Where is 0 dB on this thing? The drawing automation on this is not always the best. 10. That was 10. I want 10. Let's build it up to 0. So this is just going to let that close enough to 0. And we'll start at all the way down. This should just give that bounce back a chance to fade in. We can really hear the timing's not very good there, is it? Just lengthen those delays. It's got a cool reverse reverb on it, but the timing I ended up doing manually. So for most of that part, the main difference you'll be hearing is just the depth of it. That's all I've really set out to change and kind of improve upon from the original performance. For now, let's check out this next bit and see how this is sitting before I start going in and really messing with stuff. Cool. So yeah, the main difference, honestly, when I'm on the mix reference, I think the mix I've done so far is a little brighter, a little sharper. There's some more high end in there, and it's just spread like full left to right. It's like I go from there is some music there in front of me to I am sitting right in the middle of it, just bathing in it, and it is glorious. So that I'm really happy with this so far. Hope David is as well. I'll find out. Hopefully in chat, because he's only going to say nice stuff in chat. He'll send me the not so nice stuff on my phone later on. Soundscape is really deep. That's the goal. It's much easier to take a deep soundscape and narrow it up, I find, than to... Oh, and you obviously can't go the other way. But I assume that means you're listening on some decent headphones, which makes me happy. Because chances are you're not going to get a deep soundscape off laptop speakers. Okay, so that fade is really important, and I don't have it at all. I did bring in the dry, so I'm going to have to fade that out, and I probably want to fade that out almost entirely, I think, because that's going to give me room to let the original performance one come out. Probably at the same time as the drums, I think. And this is a good opportunity to take this EQ and bring it back in. So let's add a control point there. 0, and we'll add one back here at 100, which is going to fade in that low pass filter again. And I don't know what the end of this is meant to get to. Ambient track. Oh, alien isolation. Cool, got it. So I'm just going to fade this one out a little bit sooner than it was. But yeah, this would be awesome in one of those games. Let's grab that last little drum bit as well. I don't know if you can see there's like one more hit here of the drums that's not quite complete, and then just noise. I'm going to get rid of that entirely. And I'll probably go back and fade out the blades as well. The dry, in fact, I'll take the dry out one step earlier, which will hopefully avoid the repeat on it. Let's just give that a nice little fade in case it clicks. And then just a bit more noise there. I think the fade out is cool enough, so we'll do that. That's probably the lead into the next track. It did survive in the reference, so maybe it is important, but it's gone now. Bring it out a little bit quicker so it feels like it's fading out in time with the music. Creepy ending there. Creepy ending. I did hear something click. Did you hear something click? Maybe I just imagined it. Let's do a quick fade on that as well. Okay, my one last trick before I go back and do fun stuff to make is the master chain. So I've already had my frequency analysis going. I suspect I'm not going to do too much work on the master bus on this, just because it's all electronic instruments, and so they're already fairly well balanced pieces, but I will help glue things together just a touch. Let's jump back just anywhere in the middle will be good. That'll do. And I'm going to start with just a little bit of bus compression, really gentle. I'm not a huge fan of these compressors on the master bus, so I'll bring out some better ones next. let's get it just tapping. In fact, let's make sure I've got some orchestra for this bit, because that's going to matter. So you can see this is pulling down about two little LEDs when the orchestra's in, which is fine. That's just going to help control the volume just a little bit more. But the one that's really going to help is the L3 multi-maximizer, which I've known for a long time I should get and should use, and have just been resisting because money. And then I finally got it, and I should have done it years ago, because it's amazing. And I'm going to bring in the IM pusher as well, because that's how I always finish my mixes, because that thing is also magic. So this guy is my mastering limiter. So basically, any sound above the threshold is going to be squished completely. It's just going to stop at that level. So that becomes my new peak. Output ceiling is how much it gets gained back up. So if this is the same as the threshold, then it's going to squish down to -5 dB and then sit there. If I put this up, then I can get it up to a higher level. I'm going to set this to -2. Because my IM pusher is going to take it the rest of the way for me. The cool thing about the multi-maximizer compared to a regular maximizer is it does multi-band. So as soon as I start playing, you'll see each of these frequency bands doing something different. It's going to limit them each separately, which means you get this really balanced effect where you don't necessarily destroy the sound. I demoed it on a previous video. I think I snapped a highlight of it, so it's probably a highlight in my list of videos of taking a regular maximizer and squishing the sound significantly. It hurts. Like, it just destroys the sound. This guy, you can bring the threshold a long way down, get a lot more gain out of it, and still keep the feel of the music, the tone of the music. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that on. It's already fairly loud volume, but this will just give me a bit more and balance things a bit better across the spectrum. You just hear that's bringing in a bit more depth, a bit more volume for sure. This is getting kind of loud. I'm going to turn my headphones down just a little bit, but we are getting to the final stage. So you always mix at a lower level than the final result is going to be. And depending on what your target is. So I would probably not be limiting at all if I wasn't concerned about this being played on computer speakers, laptop speakers, gaming headphones. But for those, the dynamic range is such that I really do want to squish this down and keep the dynamic range under control. Especially if it's going to be background music, then it's going to be played at a lower level and stuff will just disappear. If I was playing this back live at a gig, I'd back every single one of my compressors off just a touch. I wouldn't put anything on the final stage in terms of gain, because if I get to control the speakers, they're going to be big speakers, they're going to be loud, and everyone's going to enjoy the full depth. But because that's not how this is going to be played, I am going to squish it. You will notice that this is only really limiting at the low end. The high end's got plenty of space, so that's good. But it does give a lot more power, like a lot more grunt to it, a lot more push. And then my cheat code with my preset for mastering. This is probably going to make no sense on this. I normally use it for live bands, but let's see. If you're looking to get into DAWs, this one is Harrison Mixbus. Relatively cheap, but it's built on top of Arda, which is a free open source digital audio workstation, DAW, D-A-W. I haven't actually used the free one. I'm primarily a Pro Tools guy, but this one is great, and Mixbus does some real cool stuff for blending all the tracks together, which honestly is a big part of why I can easily get a full mix that sounds deeper and kind of better soundscape than what you'd get in any other program. It takes a lot of work to replicate that. For some reason, it just works here. So it's great. And this, I picked this up on sale for less than $100, which is ridiculous for something of this quality. I guess Harrison make all their money off hardware, so I'll pick up the software relatively cheap. But yeah, keep an eye out for sales for sure. But otherwise, Arda is going to do all the mechanics of it the same for what I assume is completely free. Like I said, I haven't used it, but the interface will be very familiar if you jump into that. Okay, let me throw on the IM pusher. I'll start with it off and then bring it in and see what happens. This is either going to do magic or it's going to destroy it. We'll find out. It took some tweaking. I'm going to say that was magic. I'm going to say that came out sounding good. The stereo image knob on this is what is most of the magic. So that one takes a soundscape that's big and makes it even bigger. So it's a lot of fun. I always love being able to put that one on at the end. It's tied to this magic knob in the middle, which does something. This whole thing is a mix of saturation and limiting and gain control. But it does lead to a very cool overall effect, which it's no longer a fair comparison with the original mix, but I'm going to do the back-to-back anyway, just so you can hear it. Wait, I lie. It is a fair comparison because the original track is going through the master bus. So let me turn that off so we're not going through the master bus. This is where we started. Whew, that's loud. That is loud. But fun. I mean, if you bring that level down, which I can. I don't know if you're going to hear the volume level change. I'll watch the guides and see if that is going to work. That shouldn't turn me down. Nope, but it should. Yeah. So here's the whole thing at a lower volume level. And you should still be able to hear me just fine over it, but you can hear everything across the spectrum of it. You've got the low end is there, you've got the punch of the drum going on, there's the sizzle, there I can hear some moving sizzle, which I kind of want to clean up a bit. Which I guess is probably just need another EQ on this one, I think. Yeah, let's do a little bit more just to clean up that sizzle. I'll use another F6. The almost rolling sounds. It's literally rolling sounds. I have used so many Brow Motion plugins. Everything is rolling, everything is spinning, everything is shaking. It's all moving. But yeah, it's one of the best ways to really put yourself in the center of the track. Let's bring that up. I won't bring it all the way up just yet. Let's... Oh. Man, that reverb on the orchestra. It's a shame you don't hear it unless you're editing and you stop it partway through. Because that is just... Oh, so nice. So nice. It's gonna add some nice thickness to the track. It's gonna blend well, but oh, that moment where you cut it off and it's just okay. Back to playing with the orchestra. Let me. Yeah, I am going to. Hopefully, I can do this without having to restart everything. But I'm going to pull out my little MIDI controller, which is actually Teenage Engineering OP1. Not an ideal MIDI controller, but it is what I have. And I have not yet... I think after I move house and set up a proper studio / office, rather than this place, which I knew I was always only going to be here temporarily, then I will look at getting a better keyboard, full piano, something with some weighted keys and touch sensitivity and all of that fun stuff. And then at that point, I will look at getting a proper MIDI controller. But right now, this is what I've got. And so I'm going to add a MIDI. I just want a MIDI bus, I think. No. Yeah, MIDI track with no instrument because I'm going to drive something else. And hopefully this will let me... No, I've got to find my... I might have to restart all my audio devices for this. Okay. Give me 30 seconds. Hopefully less than 30 seconds, but my sound will probably go away. Hopefully nothing pops. Hopefully nothing... I will hit mute to make sure that nothing pops at you, and I'll be right back. Okay, and my audio is back. Hopefully I'm not excessively loud. Screen is back, and all that has changed is when I now go to this MIDI input, I have my OP1 MIDI device. So now I can play that. But what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to add the instrument over here on the orchestra track. And sounds fine, thank you. Ovox. And let's pull out Ovox. Now this is a real fun, interesting plugin. Which honestly is going to be best demonstrated on my own vocals. How about now? Okay, good. You can hear me, and I can also hear me. So if I start speaking weird, it's because I'm listening to myself, and that is just weird. But let me demo what this guy can do. So the routing gets real interesting on this. Let's add a MIDI sidechain, which is going to come from the MIDI track. Go into there. Now, I can see it, but I can't hear it. Oh, post fader. So So there's that. And now I'm just auto-tuning my voice through the vocoder Ovox. So unfortunately I need to be holding a key down, which means you probably can't. Let me just turn voice up. that's probably better than what I was doing. It should try and auto-tune me anyway. So this is a really cool plugin that has ridiculously fun amount of presets. There's all sorts of like you can edit everything in the synth, all kinds of effects, oscillators, everything. You can trigger off pitch, you can trigger off formant, you can trigger. It's great. It's great. It's a whole lot of fun. There's so many cool plugins. If you want to see like you're in an EDM song. So yeah, that is very cool. Let me turn that off. That should all be gone by now, and I'll delete it just to be on the safe side. Because what I'm actually going to do with that is put that over the Orchestra. So, back on the Orchestra one, let's add that MIDI sidechain, MIDI, and run that into there. And let me hide that Streambox track again. And solo up Orchestra 1, make sure we're in a place where it's playing. Yes, we are. And now, and I should have so I can blend this in, call it the voice. With a bit of luck. This one always takes a couple of goes to get everything. Oh, it's probably still post fader, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So I can have the orchestra come through. It's trying to auto-tune it. Don't want that. And so we've taken it from just a plain orchestra track into... to actually a synth that's pulsing and following the rest of it. I'm going to pick up some of the presets because there's definitely some better presets for doing this kind of thing. I'll run through some of the guitar ones and see what comes out of it. But Blade Runner was exactly what I had in mind. I just didn't want to get accused of copyright infringement by stealing their sounds, so thanks. No, I'm kidding, but that's... Yeah, you can do so much cool stuff with this. I actually kind of like that harmonic. I'm probably going to have to send it... Well, actually, no, because I can blend it here. So this one is just sending it... Actually, that's using the voice. This is just using the voice for the incoming. So now I've got a whole lot more depth, a whole lot more swirliness going on. And a whole lot more controls to play with, a whole lot more effects. Why aren't my effects showing up? Where did they come from? I jump into that one. Yeah, there they are. Oh, a whole lot more effects going on. Can I... Looks like it's not connected up. Actually, it probably is. That said, I am going to risk breaking everything by setting up another track for... Actually, no, I'm not. No, I might later on. Getting the routing to work in this can be so painful. Hopefully that voice is just going to run parallel to a lot of it. Oh, actually, it might... No, I won't. It's too confusing already. So yeah, it turns out it didn't need the MIDI controller because the one that I've gone with is using the note source as the voice. So it's going to try and do a pitch detection and then map everything to that. I assume we're probably in C. It didn't sound too bad. Nice guess at the key, C minor. That was the preset. So thank you, whoever created the harmonies, the preset. You know that A minor doesn't have any sharps or flats in it at all, so could have had an easier time of playing. I think let's just listen to it in with the whole thing, and I'll make some tweaks to the balance, and we'll see what this is going to do to the track as a whole. There's so much going on. There is so much going on. I'm actually not getting much from the synth at all. What's... Definitely doing some. Let's look through all of these settings and see which ones are probably bypassing things or not doing very useful. This is about the point where I start getting out of my depth with this plugin because, oh, geez, there is so much in here. Okay, if that's down, if Ovox is down, synth is up, then it shouldn't actually be sounding like an orchestra, right? It should be sounding like a synthesizer. If I turn these off, we should get nothing, yeah? Oh, no, I know why it still sounds like an orchestra, because we're... No, I don't know why it still sounds like an orchestra. That is in the right spot. We're not getting that sidechain from anywhere. This is the biggest downside with Mixbus, is some of this stuff. The routing for some effects is really not very flexible. Okay, so despite all of that, we're still hearing it. Here we go. Now it's working. that's going to hit again at the end. So let's make sure that this one works okay. So that's leaving us with a nice, I don't even know, the synth that is being added there. So the two controls that you see me messing with mostly are the synth level and the Ovox level. The synth level is just a normal synth. So a synthesizer based on, it's picking up the notes from the incoming orchestra. It's doing some amount of correction based on the key. It's not, note mapper is not enabled, so it's not turning it into chords, but it might be detecting multiple notes. I'm not sure. That's the synth, is that pure generated sound. Ovox is going to take the incoming voice and remap its tone or its timbre, sorry, to the synth tones. And so that's how you get kind of the vocoded sound. So if I still had mine connected up, I could go back to it, and if I just turn the synth up and sang into it, it would play a synthesizer in time with my voice in the right note, in the right key. If I use the Ovox, it would transform my voice into that note, into that key. So it's really cool to have those two controls there, especially when you're just trying to manipulate another track. I think I want to do the same thing for the third orchestra, but not the second one. So this has got some cool, more active parts going on in it. That would be great to have some kind of synth also happening at those points. So let's do another one. Hopefully, because I'm not going to try and do it with MIDI this time, I'll just start with the same preset and work from there. I think it was Yod Nevo guitar harmonic. So you can hear that's doing a lot. That's doing a lot. Not going to want that much synth on it, but... and I'm probably not going to want as much of the... I'll keep the... That's a lot of extra reverb. That's probably what was doing this as well. Let's dial that. Let's just turn that last reverb off. I've got more reverb coming. That's a really long plate as well, so... Take that off. The compressor and chorus can stay on because they're not going to be doing too drastic things. Let's turn them off here because I have more reverb coming. Come on, wakey, wakey. That looks a little bit frozen. Let's just give it a sec to wake up. Everything frozen? I still have audio. Okay, good. Not gonna lie, all of my other windows are frozen as well, so this might be a kill everything and be right back. No, in fact, it was a bring up task manager, and that fixed it all. So, and then broke it all again. And I... Save. Saved. Good. Thank you. When I get points for redeems, one of them is going to be save. And I'll probably not notice when anyone does it anyway. But if I get points for redeems. So let's dial these. In fact, let's dial these up a little bit. And see if I can just scale back the mods and effects. Might have been a very well-timed save there. Back in a sec. Am I back? Now, I'm not blaming you for that crash, but I will say you did tell me to save like 10 seconds before it happened. So, your fault. But we're back, and this might be the last Ovox that I apply, but because it's not playing well with others right now. One of the downsides of Mixbus, unfortunately. This is the kind of thing where Pro Tools would handle it no problem. In fact, I'm just going to delete it. I don't actually like how it sounds, and apparently I can't adjust it, so... But we do have a nice sounding Orchestra 1 with some extra... with some extra synthy sounds in it, so happy enough with that one. Orchestra 2, I think, would have been nice, but this is kind of the more focused one that I've got. All right. Let's double check. So I'm just going to double check the start and the ending. Dave, if you know of any points in here, if you've noticed anything performance-wise, where if you've dropped into a quieter section, I've missed it. I know there's one bit, looks like it's about there, that I'm going to double check. But if there's any bits you want me to double check before calling this done for the night, I might give it a second look tomorrow after my ears have had a rest before I send you something finished. But if there's anything like that, let me know and I'll double check that. Otherwise, I'll check the end, I'll check the start. I'll do a quick frequency mix check, as I typically do, just to demo that, because I think that's a neat trick. But otherwise, I'm getting close to being done for the night, and we'll do the playthrough and finish up. So let me just check the ending, make sure that's still good. And yeah, it's not. So let's pull this orchestra fade a long way back in. And I'll pull this one in a little bit as well. I can pull the orchestra fade a long way in because it's got a 6-second reverb on it, and that's going to help it linger all the way to the end. Give this an extra fade right at the end. I'm going to bring... Yeah, okay. We have a smooth ending, which most likely will fade into either roaring applause or the next song. We'll see. Check out the start. And I can already hear hissing that I don't like, so let's clean that up. What else? There's nothing of interest in those drum parts, so let's just delete those and give them a fade there. Be something on that one as well, so I'll do a slow fade in. Well, and that opening to the orchestra was interesting. So I think I'm going to have to do a bit of automation on the Ovox at the start of those. Let's get... I'm going to want the synth level, I think. Currently set at -15. That's good. Can stay there for most of it. Wherever -15 is. That's... Why do I feel like that's not exactly where it was at? Oh, I'm dragging the whole line around. That's what that is. I want to drag... Oh, they're probably all selected, aren't they? Control point editing leaves a little bit to be desired. Okay, let's try that. Apparently it's not the synth level I need to automate. It is Ovox level as well. Or instead, I'll automate both because why not? So this should give us a nicer smooth. It is coming from this track, isn't it? Synth level? Ovox level. Oh, I know what it is. These need to be changed to play. And 17, 19, those are about right. Okay, so now the orchestra can start and the cool synthy bits don't show up immediately. Probably going to have to repeat this at the end of it, I suspect. So let's fade them out here as well. And then we'll do the same here. So that we don't get drastic entrances of the orchestra. Make this one a little bit quicker. I think that's... And it's going to do the same thing again there at the end. So let's put some control points. And drag things around. I'm going to be fairly rough with this because it's not a real obvious part. I'm not too worried about it being a perfect level for anything in particular. Really just about smoothing the entrance and the exits of that part. And probably one more. And let's grab a few points there. Starts and finishes at 0. Starts and finishes at 0 and bring that up. And last one, same thing. That's 0, 0. Let's bring that up. A little bit too early. Okay, that is the automation done. Cool effect, a lot more work than expected, but totally worth it, I think. Totally worth it. Now, there's one point here where everything drops down a little bit. I just want to have a quick listen, make sure that it's nothing sounds too out of place, because I can do some more automation. Let's come into it. Yeah, I want to bring 2 plates down at this point. So let's do it on the Mixbus send, and I think Mixbus 1 is where they're both going. So Mixbus send level play, it should be starting at 0 dB. I wonder if I choose right and I'm not actually playing, this is going to, if I now touch these, like give me control points. I mean, it's probably easiest just to play and then turn it down. Which should, yep, do it like that. And I'm going to need to adjust the second one as well. So let's a Mixbus 2 level, and we'll put that on touch. And we'll over here, we'll grab Mixbus 2 level and put you on touch. I did not really set these up perfectly for doing automation, but we'll do it anyway. Then don't actually want it on touch, do I? I want it on right. No, it's okay. I'll figure it out. Okay, so now let's delete that control point, delete that one, delete that other one that's up there. For this quiet section, which looks like it goes to about here. So let's say by about this point, we want them all back at 0. And I guess I can just increase throughout the whole thing. Like that's not a big deal if they kind of grow back up. Cannot just easily set that value. Okay. Grab, can I have a control point? And I have a control point. You'll do. And you'll do. Got that one at 0. And, oop, not that whole line. That one, let's get you back up to 0. And I think now if I actually change this to right, I think right is what I wanted. I write a lot more automation, but I should be able to. Okay, so now they all end up back at 0. Excellent. Great. So we have just a little bit of backing off during that section to give us a bit more space, but we're going to grow back into it. Cool. Okay. That is all that I'm going to do tonight. So before I finish that up, let's put it back at full volume so you can enjoy it as intended. If you have a sound system, this is the time to turn up because I'm going to stop talking and start playing back. If you don't have a sound system, then enjoy it in your headphones. Just before I go, my name's Steve. Thank you for joining me. I do some kind of mixing stream every Sunday at whatever this time is for you. So about 2 hours ago, it was 8 p.m. for me, Greenwich Mean Time. Whatever that time is for you, I will be here every Sunday streaming some kind of mix. If you've got something that you'd like me to mix, I'm more than happy to accept tracks. You can see the kind of thing that I work with, so a recorded performance. I do occasionally. I'm trying to branch out and do a bit more composing my own stuff, but that's a real stretch for me. I'm not real good at that. So I like to stick to things that you've recorded. or that I've recorded of various things. So live recordings, really common, vocals, all of that. A lot of fun. That's what I do. This was a whole lot of fun. This is very unusual for me. I don't normally do this, but it was good. And I'm sure if David's happy with it, then I'll get more work. So we might have another one of these come up sometime soon, which I would be quite okay with. Let me bring that down just a little bit while I talk. So yeah, hit follow. It looks like Bleem already has. Thank you, Bleem, for joining. Hope to see you next time. Yeah, if you've got anything that you'd either like me to mix or just a suggestion for style, for a theme, for a plugin to play with, more than happy to let what you'd like influence what I do. You can whisper me on Twitch, or if you find me on Twitter and tweet at me, that's fine as well. And yeah, obviously I don't have subs or anything, so hit follow and I will catch you next time. And for now, let me save one last time just to be sure. And I will go. Please enjoy Intruder